In this video, I'm going to show you how to create sites and pages, and how to put your pages into a hierarchical structure to form your site's navigation. Deciding how you organize your site's content is often called information architecture. And there can be a lot of work in finding the optimal structure to present the wealth of information that you'll want to offer up. The easy part is manipulating your structure in Tangora. It's a highly intuitive process, so super easy not only to create but also to change your site structure. The first topic I want to present is the relationship between your site hierarchy and your site's navigation. If we take a look at the navigation in a site in Tangora, and then how it looks in Tangora Manager, you'll notice that they mirror each other. And this is no accident. Our pages and the way they're organized in the hierarchy is what creates our navigational structure. When we talk about our site structure, we can refer to the levels in the hierarchy of our site by number. Take a look at this example site here, which I'm going to recreate for you in this video. Here, the first 3 points are our first level navigation. The next level in our hierarchy is the second level navigation, and then comes our third level navigation. If I wanted to, I could also create more levels. And when you create a layout in Tangora, you decide how you're going to represent these levels. Alright, so now you've seen the relationship between your site's structure and your site's navigation. Let's get to work. Let's recreate the example site that I just showed you from scratch. I'll show you how to create a site and then how to create pages and subpages. The first step is creating a new site. I do this by right-clicking on a site. That'd be Control-click for you Mac users out there. And then selecting Create New Site. As you can see, I could also copy a whole site, which is particularly useful if you want to create a version of a site in a different language, for example. And you can also delete a whole site. Properties will give you access to the properties of the site that you have selected if you wanted to change the name of a site, for example. But now I'll select Create New Site, and we'll see that we actually come into the Properties interface of the new site that I'm about to create. I'll give it a name first off. I'll call it Frez Organic Conference. And then I could also adjust some settings here, but for now I'll just use the default values. Once I have my site created, then I could right-click on my site, and because the site doesn't have any pages yet, I have the option to create a new page. The interface I come into now is similar to the interface for creating a site, and again I can adjust a series of settings here, but for now I'm just going to give my new page a name and then hit OK. Now we can see my page appear in the page hierarchy, and it is shown in a light gray color, which indicates that the page is not yet visible in my navigation. I can make my page appear in my navigation by right-clicking on my page and selecting Show Page in Navigation. And now, if I right-click on the page and choose Show Page in Browser, which shows a live version of my page, I'll be shown my site with my page appearing in the navigation. We'll ignore the design and contents of the page for now. Right now I just want to focus on creating sites and pages. So now I'll make the new page again, but this time instead of clicking on a site, I'm going to click on a page. And this will be the procedure going forward. I click on an existing page and then I can select Create New Page from the context menu that appears. And again, I just had to give my page a name, hit OK, and then make my page visible in my site's navigation. I'll repeat the process for my third page. Incidentally, I could also right-click on a page and then hide it in my navigation if I needed to do that. Okay, so now I have 3 main pages, but I want some subpages. The way I could create a subpage is again by right-clicking on an existing page and then choosing Create New Subpage. And we'll see that the page appears in the second level of our navigational hierarchy. So now I'm going to create all of my second level navigation points. Now that I have all of my second level navigation pages created, you can see that I get a little triangle which allows me to expand and collapse my view so I can concentrate on whatever area of my site that I'd like. Now I'm going to create a third level page. The way I do this is exactly the same as for our second level pages, but this time I'll choose a second level page that I'd like to add a subpage to, and then choose Create New Subpage here. So now you've seen how to create your site's structure, including how to make your pages visible or invisible in your site's navigation. I'm going to show you next how you could change your site structure, including moving pages as well as copying, renaming, and deleting pages. You move pages simply by dragging and dropping. So if I wanted to move a page, I just click on it, and then I drag it to where I want to position it, and then release my mouse to position the page, confirming the move in the alert box. You'll notice that when I move a page, that a blue arrow appears, which helps me position just exactly where the page should go. If I'm about to move a page on the same level of my hierarchy, the arrow is horizontal. If I'm about to move my page as a subpage of another page, then the arrow points diagonally downwards. You may also find yourself wanting to copy or delete pages. Copying is really handy because you may well want a new page to look more or less like an existing page. The process is simply selecting the page you want to copy and then right-clicking and selecting Copy. The new page appears with Copy Of in the name. So what if you want to change the name of a page? You just have to right-click on a page and then choose Properties. Then you come into the same interface that you met upon creating the page. Deleting is just the same. Select a page, right-click, and then hit Delete. You'll need to confirm this action, and then the page is gone. If you make a mistake and you need to get the page back, then you can navigate to the administration part of Tangora, to the trash can, where you could either restore the page or delete it for good. Just a caution about deleting pages, you'll want to consider that there may be links to your site, including from search engines, which may be disrupted when you delete. So you may want to consider alternatives to outright deletion, depending on the case. There are ways to redirect to a newer version of a page, and if you're looking to preserve an older version of a page for reference, you could also opt to make a copy of the page in question and then use the copy as your backup. You've now been presented with all the basics of creating and manipulating your site and page structure. Next, I'm going to show you some extras on the topic of site and page hierarchy. I'm going to show you link pages, which are navigational stand-ins for content that may be hiding out elsewhere in your hierarchy. And then I'm going to show you a brief overview of your page and site's properties. Now, we've already seen the properties interface when we created each page, and I'm going to give you a little rundown here of what we have in a second. But for right now, I'd like to teach you about link pages. A link page is a page whose sole purpose is to link to another page. So the page serves a navigational purpose, but the content is controlled elsewhere. Let's say that I have a main contact page in my site, but I also want to include my contact information in my navigation more than once. With link pages, I don't have to worry about maintaining copies of the contact page. I can simply create a link page. So I'll just create a page as I usually would, but now I'll make sure to choose my page with a type link. When I've done this, I get a page up on screen where I can enter my link, and this could be a link to an entirely different site or to a page in my solution, which I can access with Select Internal Link, where I could choose my page from the page tree, with an option to search for the page as well. The link can be opened in a new window as an option, and then I have the handy Remain in Context feature, which means that your visitor will stay put in terms of where they are in your site structure, including retaining layouts if that were relevant. Now on to properties of sites and pages. If I go back to a page's properties, I could show you that there are a host of other properties that you may find yourself wanting to change. I'm not going to go into depth here, but I want to give you a quick overview. Under the General tab, you could change the default site and page layouts for the current page if you need to do that, as well as changing the page type. If you want to display news items with Tangora's News module, for example, you'll want to do that under Page Type. Shortcut is also a really handy feature. Say you have a page which is named Contact Info, where you display your address. You may want to be able to provide your guests with a link, www.fresconferences.com or whatever your domain is, /address, even though the actual name of the page ends with contact info 25 ASPX or whatever it may be called according to your chosen URL syntax. That is to say, the way you've chosen to name your pages in Tangora. You could even add multiple shortcuts separated by a comma. So if I wanted to get into the page in question with contact info, I could also do that as well as address. The metadata tab is where you can create meta tags, which can be used to describe the content on a given page to search engines. And there are also areas here for alternative titles. These come into play if you want your page to be called something other than it is in your navigation. It could be a tool to refine your search engine optimization efforts, but it is also what your guests will see when they make a bookmark. By the way, on the subject of bookmarks, I want to give you a tip that you can add a favorites icon under Archives, System File Archives. The Access tab gives you the settings for when your page should be published, and it is also where you set access if you're using the user administration or external users modules. I should also mention that you have a series of properties specific to sites as well, also relating to default layouts, shortcuts, and various metadata. Super. So now we have a site that we could click around in. And the best part of it is that we don't have to commit to our structure because we've seen how easy it is to change up. Now, in this example, I've created my entire structure in one go. But you'll probably find yourself coming back and forth to manipulating your site structure as you're in the process of creating and maintaining your website. The navigation you create is the natural outcome of the page hierarchy that you create. And Tangora gives you the power over your site structure with simple point and click, drag and drop operations. Thank you for watching.